New items, Juggernaut champion updates, and defensive item changes. Sounds like it's time for patch notes for junglers for patch 5.16. On to the defensive item changes. Most items are generally cheaper, especially Aegis, but it's been tuned as a support item instead of benefiting tanky bruisers. Also, Crystal Embracer makes its appearance as a building block for more items, either focused on MR or health. Point Redder passive now has a decaying movement speed boost. ZZ Route Portal is even more useless because while Void Spawns can now travel farther, they're less healthy at all points during the trip. Most items are generally more expensive, especially Frozen Heart, which also lost some of its armor. Thornmail is more expensive and it scales less off of damage and now scales with your armor. Rando and Zoma is a little cheaper but loses 20% of its bonus health and 14% of its bonus armor. Instead, it now reduces crit strike damage by 10% and the slow active no longer scales off resistances. Warmogs now regens 3% of your max health per second when you have above 3,000 max health, which is basically anyone who would buy it typically. Righteous Glory trades the Catalyst passive for a 100 gold discount, and Cinderhulk gets increased base health but reduced percent health multiplier, which boosts its mid-game impact and reduces its late-game power. New items. Dead Man's Plate was added during the 5.15 cycle after the Bilgewater Burning Tides event ended, so we'll include it here. This item builds from Chain Vest and Giant's Belt and gives health, armor, and passives that build up momentum for bonus move speed and discharges momentum on basic attacks to deal bonus damage. At max stacks, it doubles the damage and slows. Steric's Gauge is built from a Giant's Belt and a Longsword, giving health, bonus AD, and a passive shield and more AD if taking 400 to 1800 damage based on level within 5 seconds. Titanic Hydra is an item that builds from Tiamat and Ruby Crystal, giving health, AD, and 100% base health regen. It keeps Tiamat's passive inactive, but gains another unique passive that empowers your basic attacks for 20 damage plus 1% of your max health as bonus physical damage. Juggernaut champion updates. Darius, Garen, and Mordekaiser all received updates for the Juggernaut update, but they aren't junglers, so fuck them. Skarner, however, now this bitch, has 6 crystals placed around the rift which can be captured. Captured crystals create an aura that gives Skarner massive buffs to his attack speed, move speed, and now regens 3% max mana per second. Not per 5, per second. Q has scaling cooldowns and reduced mana cost. W scales with max health. E can now stun and has flat mana cost. His ult had reduced base damage but increased ratio, flat mana cost, and higher cooldown at rank 1 but lower cooldown at rank 3. Champion balance changes. In line with all the defensive item changes. Sad Mummy, Big Daddy, Sonic the Hedgehog, Rocket Fisting, Mustache Man, Gem City, Lickitung, Mad Cow, Chainmaster, The Bitch That Dives, and Bluan all received buffs to their armor per level. Alistair gained a little weight and is a little slower on his headbutt. Spider Tits loses some of her percent health damage from her human form Q. Kale base AD nerf. Lee Sin's passive shifted more energy refund onto the first hit with the same total amount returned. Also his R now deals percent health damage to other enemy champions hit by your target. Rammus W damage buff. Lightning Bear now damages up to 4 nearby enemies on initial cast of his ult. And the Jello Monster, no, not that one. Yeah, him. Zac received a fairly big buff to his E range, now maxing out at 1800 from the previous 1550. And if that wasn't enough fuckery, there's plenty more on the full patch notes, like missile speed increase on LeBlanc's Distortion, self-casting Lissandra's ult now heals her, and Teemo Shrooms no longer have a decaying slow and reveal stealth champions. Not enough? Click the link in the description to be taken to the full patch notes. Now get the hell out of here.